I am glad that the Secure and Trusted Communications Networks Act made it onto the President's desk last week, and I was proud to be a co-sponsor of that companion bill in the Senate last year. This legislation is critical to create a stable and secure foundation for America's communications networks. However, it will also set the stage for carriers' ability to meet timelines established in the legislation and how applicants can request reimbursement. Mr. Berry, are there still small providers who haven't been able to secure commitments from trusted vendors to assure that they can deliver the quantity of equipment needed for the networks within those timelines?
Thank you for the questions, Senator. Yes, that is a difficult task for many small carriers. What we're seeing with this legislation, especially you've kickstarted the concept of you may actually be able to replace that covered technology with new technology. Our carriers are already out there getting vendors and getting equipment manufacturers to give us quotes and to give them estimates of what it's going to take. Matter of fact, several on this panel have already been involved with detailed conversations with the small carriers. Our intent is not to let any moss grow on this stone. We want to make sure that we're out there trying to find the solution ASAP. And yes, new technologies could, in fact, create new security opportunities, but there is a time lag. There's a flexibility, a need for flexibility. Some of the technology may not be ready to deploy today. It may be ready in 5, 6, 8 months, a year and a half. So we need to measure twice and cut once, and I think that maybe the small carriers, especially with this act, will get the information they need, and they are certainly ready to and willing to tackle the challenge.
You know, that information is going to require them to have information on how to apply for the funding as well. That's going to be a big deal as we move into this for any number of reasons, not the least being security. What are you hearing from your members? What are the questions you're hearing the most from your members who are going to have to rip and replace?
I think the number one issue is now that we have a goal, the goal is no covered equipment in your network. The next question is, okay, how do we prioritize that? Which elements do we take out first? Do we take out, everything from the antenna back to the BB or the core? How do you do that? And do you go from a 3G to a 4G to a 5G solution? Part of the problem is many of the vendors are not making the 2 or 3G technology that may be in some of these networks. So how do you get to a 4G technology when you have 3G technology but you have voice? So it may be necessary to go to a 4G LTE VoLTE product so you replace an old technology with a newer technology that actually has voice. So those things are real sort of into the weeds, but they're very detail oriented, and it's what our carriers think about in terms of how do we maintain connectivity. And it is like building a separate network while you operate a network so you can transition on day one and actually you'll be able to make a call.
Thank you. Dr. Lewis, you stated that the bans on Huawei network technology, such as in the United States, Japan, Australia, also, that is the only way to eliminate risk entirely. Last week I was in the UK with, calling China, with a handful of my colleagues, and we met with the government there. And obviously, we expressed some concerns about their recent action, also the influence that may have on actions within the EU as well. Those are security concerns. The UK is a member of Five Eyes. That causes us to take a step back and decide that special relationship we have with the UK, how do we move forward on that when it comes to security measures. Can the core really be securely isolated in a way that some of these countries are talking about in theory. The Chinese don't like this. So in theory, you know, they're talking about this core and it's going to be secure and we don't need to worry. And, you know, my comeback is we have to put national security above price. How would you answer that?
Thank you, Senator. I think that the politics and the commercial motives that our European partners have will probably drive them to adopt a partial ban. That's not in the best interest of their security. We had the discussion of a backdoor, but they will be motivated by China's economic power. That means for us, there's two things. First, we can help them do better at making sure the partial ban eliminates risk as much as possible. There's debate over this. I would defer to my more technologically astute colleagues, but there are some companies and some intelligence agencies that say a partial ban can be made to work in the near term. The second issue we need to bear in mind is this is not a finished deal. The British have said, perhaps they said it to you, that their opening position is a limitation of 35%, but they're willing to move that back as we go forward. So we need to help them make it work now. We need them to get to move in the right direction later on. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Corey.
Thank you.